Hey there, if you're ready to take your mobile notary and loan signing business to the next level, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Sign and Thrive podcast with Bill Soroka, that's me, and friends. Let's go and get it. Welcome to the Sign and Thrive podcast. I'm excited to introduce you to my next guest today, Lori Morgan. Lori is the owner of Sign Here and There Notary Services and also a fellow serial entrepreneur. Lori, thank you so much for making some time for us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me today, Bill. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's I've been looking forward to this for quite some time. And thank you for sharing that this is your very first podcast interview.
It is. I listen to them all the time. Just have not had the privilege of being a special guest. And I'm so happy that it's your show that I'm making my debut. So thank you.
Me too. I'm honored to have you here. The way I was introduced to you was through a Clubhouse in particular. And I know you help co-facilitate a few rooms in there. You always have great topics. And what really stood out, besides your voice, which is made for this kind of work, is the way that you facilitate with such kindness, compassion, and boundaries. You really know how to control a room, and I've always really appreciated that. And I'm so glad that our paths have continued to intertwine and connect along this journey.
Thank you so much. That means a lot coming from you, Bill.
Speaking of journey, I want to find out, I love these origin stories about how someone becomes a notary public. And you've been able to really stand out because you do have a career that you actually enjoy working in. You have a family life that fulfills you, as you just mentioned before we started recording. And yet you've been able to find success also as a part-time notary public and loan signing agent. So I want to find out how this came to be. How'd you get started with this?
Absolutely. So you're absolutely right. I have a very thriving 9-to-5 that keeps me very, very busy. And just to give some of the listeners a little bit of background, I've been a commissioned notary public for a little over 8 years. And in that capacity, I would say for the first 6 years or so, I was kind of like a backup notary at work. Anytime we had anything that needed notarized, they would come to me. And it was so rare that we needed that. But I kept that commission up and didn't think anything about it. And then the pandemic sets in. Everyone's at home. You have a lot more free time on your hands. And I came across a lot of videos on YouTube, or like we like to call it, YouTube University. And loan signing was one of those topics or subjects that came up. And I watched a lot of videos. I watched a lot of your videos. I watched a lot of other successful notary publics and loan signing agents. And that's really what piqued my interest. I became certified as a loan signing agent. And I jumped in the waters early on in the pandemic, and have been just going from there. So that's a little of my notary story, notary/notary signing agent.
Awesome. And I hear that story all the time. I saw your videos on YouTube, and I think that's has been the spark of so many endeavors into this realm, because there are, especially now, there's tons of great trainers out there, specialty training, things that were not around for that long. That's relatively new. And I think it sparked a really incredible raising of the bar in our industry in so many different ways, because people are so much more qualified out there. So tell me though, you were able to do this without leaving your job, right? Like you weren't in a place of desperation. You hadn't been laid off. You hadn't failed at 26 businesses before. You didn't have to make this work. What caught your attention about it?
Yeah, I think for me, so yeah, it's still not laid off. What the big difference for me was, in my current role, I travel a lot. So I travel a lot domestically as well as international, and I did not have the travel. So I work in marketing. I do a lot of trade shows or did a lot of trade shows. And the past couple of years, as you can imagine, those just kind of got shut down. So the work continued, but not the travel. So when you go from having very little extra time to now you have all this extra or downtime, it makes for, some time where you're like, what am I going to do to fill this space? And for me, I wanted to see how I could add some additional knowledge, different streams of income. I think if nothing else, this pandemic has opened a lot of eyes, inspired a lot of people, and got those wheels turning in the way that they have not turned before. Now, I do want to preface this by saying I am a proud third generation entrepreneur. So my grandparents had their own business while working full time as well. My dad, he worked for 53 years before he retired, but he worked his own business for 40 of those years while working full time. And so I just come from a hardworking family. So just because I've had my own business, and I've always had some type of business for, I'd say, the last 20 years, whether it was consulting or, event planning or something like that, I've always kept a full-time job. And then I've always had for a better term, side hustle, and been successful in both arenas. The loan signing was just an additional tool to add to the toolkit. I wasn't exactly sure where it was going, but when I hear and I see other people being successful, that tells me or shows me it is possible. So when I hear you talk about your success, after a number of different tries at different businesses, when I saw my good friend Nakia Alexander on YouTube talking about how she was successful and she's right here in my home state, in my home city, it just kind of sparked a light bulb in my head like, hey, this is possible. Let me look a little bit more into it. It seemed like a low cost startup. Yeah. And I tried it and it's been working ever since.
I love that. And I think having somebody in your life, whether it's on YouTube or in a course or in a book or just in your circle, that can be your Roger Bannister, right? That just shows you, hey, yeah, you can run the mile under 4 minutes, like Roger Bannister did in the 50s or 60s or whenever it was, just to show you, oh, wow, that is possible. I think that's extremely important. But as you were sharing your story about the entrepreneurialism, a question occurred to me. There's lots of people that are satisfied with their 9-to-5. It fulfills, it makes them enough money. They like it enough to stay. They're not real driven to take on something else. So I'm curious for you, and maybe even up through the generations, was the decision to start a side hustle, was it an income decision or a passion decision or a combination?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's definitely a combination. So for me, I have to be passionate about something. So I was never one of those kind of just widget turners or, stamp here. I shouldn't say stamp, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Clock here, clock there. It has to be something that I'm passionate about. And so for me, a lot of the things that I've done on my own and then with my 9-to-5, I'm passionate about marketing. I'm passionate about seeing people succeed. I'm really passionate about seeing something from the beginning all the way to the end. That just kind of gives me kind of like a completion. So that's part of it. And then, I think once you've been successful, whatever society designs successful, can you take care of yourself? Can you take a couple of vacations a year? Do you have a nice, comfortable transportation to get around? I think once you reach that level, and I think most adults reach that level at some point in their career, I think that you have to have some sort of something else that drives you. Okay, what's my next level? What's my, you don't want to get complacent because then complacency breeds boredom or disappointment or discontentment or what have you. And so I am one of those people that I'm always motivating myself or trying to think of ways that I can motivate myself. Entrepreneurship for me equals motivation because there's always levels to, like, there's a saying, there's levels to this. There's always levels in entrepreneurship, just like there's levels in your corporate or not-for-profit career path. There's levels to the entrepreneurship. And I think until you get to the Bill Gates or the, now even, pop stars or billionaires, Rihanna and, Beyonce, until you get to that level, financially, I think there's always room for growth. And for me now that, I'm in the position that I am in, I have nieces, I have nephews that I'm looking to leave legacies for, so that they, when they're, growing up and looking at their career and looking at the possibilities, I want them to see infinite possibilities. But how are they going to know that that's possible? They have to see someone else do it. And so for me, that's it. It's a combination of having passion for what I'm doing, but then also wanting to leave some sort of financial and legacy for my family.
That's huge. And I love that you get to be the Roger Bannister for your nieces and nephews. You get to show them what's possible as well. And speaking of family, have you found with your family support, are they cool? Are they on board with working full time and taking on side hustles and all your other responsibilities?
Absolutely. I come from one of those families where they were the family that said, you can do anything. So it wouldn't have mattered if I said, I would like to be a dog catcher. They would have said, that is so awesome, Lori. You be the best dog catcher in the whole city, in the whole state. They were I had those kind of parents. I had those kind of grandparents. And I have that kind of family today. Yeah, if you're not supportive, it's not like I'm dismissive of you. It's just that you can't be like in that inner circle because it's hard enough to just motivate yourself every day. But yeah, my family is extremely supportive to this day. I mean, my mom, she still clips every little article. If I'm in an article, she clips it out and puts it in the scrapbook. And my immediate family and my extended family, absolutely, they're my biggest cheerleaders.
What a gift. What a gift. So you mentioned a little bit what sounded like boundaries. And I think having healthy boundaries is extremely important to creating success. But you also mentioned legacy too. So how do you have a written vision for yourself? How do you plan this out? How do you know where you're going?
Yeah, that's another great question, Bill. So for me, I'm a very structured individual in a lot of aspects. So now I am impromptu. If you call me tomorrow and say, "Hey, do you want to go to Paris?" I'm packing my
You're
going. I'm in. So I definitely have some, kind of whim about myself, and that's awesome. But regarding my career and my personal, I am one of those vision board people. So I don't make necessarily resolutions every year, but every single year, yes, I have a vision board. And on that vision board are, usually I'll have some personal things, I have some business things, and a lot of times those two worlds will collide. I revisit that every year, and then I have a check-in process on almost a monthly basis to kind of, touch back in to see, okay, where am I? And, where do I need to go, or what's my next step, or what, connection do I need to make next? So it looks, a lot of times people, when you have, a particular success, it looks like it's like an overnight thing to someone else, but there's a lot of behind the scenes that go into that. And that's the way I've always operated. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've been, had the degree of success that I've had so far.
How do you get yourself back on track when you derail?
That's a good one. So sometimes you have to step away from the situation. So let's say you're working on something and it's a really, really big event or a really, really big, business opportunity, and things are just not falling the way you thought they would fall. you've reached out to 20 people and you're not getting any return phone calls. So for me, what I like to do is just kind of step back, decompress, and then I just either go on to something else for a minute, because sometimes just thinking about or doing something else will definitely get your mind off of that one particular thing. And then the other thing that I do, now this is a daily thing, and I don't want to get too spiritual or religious on anyone, but I am a spiritual person. I am a religious person. I am a very outspoken person on what my beliefs are. And so I am a Christian. And because of that, I do daily gratitude. And so I have a book, and I would grab it, but I don't want to mess up my microphone. But I have a book that is a gratitude journal. And in that journal, here it is. In that journal, it has a list of like blessings, or some people might call them miracles, or just things that I can be grateful for. And the reason I bring that up is because when you have a bad day or you have a bad season or a bad time, and we all go through those, 2020, or I'm sorry, not 2020, 2021. Seems like 2020 and 2022, it's like a blur. So
Yeah.
2021, yes, it was probably the worst season that I've ever gone through. My dad had been diagnosed with dementia about 3.5 years before. It was a very aggressive, very rapid disease. We, as a family, chose to keep him at home, which I'm so grateful we did. But it was just a very challenging season. So challenging in every way you can possibly imagine. And the times that I was able to keep the most grounded was when I would go back to that list of blessings or miracles or just like good things that had happened, because it's a reminder to you that it might be bad like right now, but it hasn't always been bad, and it won't always be bad. And so that is what keeps me grounded, is just being able to kind of have that as a touch point. And so even if you're not religious, even if you're not spiritual, we all have good things that happen to us, and you'll have some bad things that'll happen, and that's just life. I would ask you to write those in some type of journal or notebook so that you can go back and remind yourself of those. And that's usually what gets me out of it.
Oh, what a great practice that is. Yeah, I agree with you. And gratitude doesn't require any particular religion, right? You can be grateful in any religion you choose. And I love that you write those things down. And it's kind of similar to what we talk about a lot, is keeping things top of mind. With my particular vision, I read mine every single day, so it stays top of mind. I remember who I'm becoming, who am I, what's the legacy and impact I want to leave in this world. So it helps affect your decision making. And if you do that with your things you're grateful for every day, it can help reset your mindset. I love that you do that. Thank you for sharing that very private practice with us. So let's go back and talk about when you first started doing this, because you had some pretty, well, let's not say it's an overnight success, but it was relatively immediate success as a loan signing agent. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say compared to other people's journey, like I said, although I'd been a commissioned notary, let's just be honest, I wasn't really doing that much with it.
Right.
But once the light bulb came on and I saw that it could be a side business, I just looked to see, okay, what's the track? What's the framework? And I'm one of those people where I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I'll just tell you that now. If I see somebody else and they're successful, if they're, willing to, I'm going to ask them point blank. You and I have had conversations in California in person before, and I probably hit you up with 10, 20 questions right off the bat, because you're a successful person, a successful entrepreneur, a successful notary, a successful notary signing agent. So why not ask another successful person, what they're doing, and then just kind of, replicate that in your own way. And so, yeah, once I saw that, people like my friend Nakia and other notaries were being successful, I just asked like, hey, what are you doing? Do you mind sharing that with me? And I've been so blessed to have people that weren't like stingy. They call it stingy energy, no stingy energy.
Yeah.
And they share what made them successful. And so I just took that and ran with it. And so once I made up my mind, like, I think I'm going to do this. Yeah, it was pretty quick. Honestly, it was pretty quick.
How did you balance that? You know, we talk about, how did you balance working a full-time job and being a part-time loan signing agent?
Right. So when my friend, and I'm just bringing Akia up just because she's local here with me and she's one of my mentors and one of my best notary friends, she was doing it also. So she was part-time initially. And I asked her, how are you doing this? She said, well, I do early morning signings. I do signings on my lunch break. I do signings right after work. I do signings on Saturday. I do signings on Sunday. And this was right around the time when the interest rates just kind of plummeted and everyone was doing a refi. Everybody was buying, everybody was selling. And so if you wanted to, theoretically, you could work 7 days a week. And so when you see something like that, you just jump on it because you don't know how long it's going to last.
Right.
And I didn't even know at that point, everything that went into it, building those relationships, all of the marketing that goes into it. I was just like, let me sign up with a few services and see what happens. And that's where the business came in. But once I found out, hey, this is, not as hard as everybody's trying to make it. There's a formula here, stick with it. You do have to grind. You do have to, put your head down and, you have to be very, very organized. There were a lot of assignments that I couldn't take, during the day because I'm working, but I did have a lot of flexibility working from home. So that helped, being able to run out, on my lunch break and before work and after work and things of that nature. And so it just kind of has skyrocketed from there, and then it just hasn't stopped.
If you're a notary public looking for advanced graduate level coaches, courses, and technology to help you grow a business that will last in any economy, then the Notary Business Builder Mastermind program is for you. We've harnessed the power of 8 high-performance teachers that grant access to their courses, as well as offer over 20 live teaching calls every single month to help you get more customers either online or through strategic relationships. And with the use of the authentic sharing technology we provide, we build done-for-you content that will keep you top of mind with your customers all year round. So when they need a notary, they call you. Check it out. Learn more at notarycoach.com and look for the Notary Business Builder info. One of the most common questions I get from new notaries that are in your position or they want to be in your position is, how do you say no to a signing?
Yeah. So because the signing service, the title companies, even the general public, they don't know your schedule and they don't know you're part-time. And I don't advertise myself as part-time. I am a professional notary, professional loan signing agent, whatever you call yourself. And that's, what I am. I have certain availability. And so a lot of times when you will get those requests during the day when you may be working your full-time or 9 to 5. And unfortunately, I just have to be honest, I'm not available. And they don't know, I'm definitely want you to, use your integrity and please be honest, but they don't know, they just assume you're already booked. You're already, booked with another appointment. And that's just how I do it. I just, I'm not available, thanks for thinking of me, but I am available, after 5. I'm available on Saturdays. I'm available on Sundays. I can be available if it's a quick, if it's a refi, that's going to be 15, 20 minutes. I am available on my lunch break. And the other thing that I do, which is a little bit different than what some agents may do, I tend to stay in my area. So I will just go in the counties and the cities that are a close drive for me. I typically don't put in, I know some people I put in 50 zip codes. I put in every county in my state. I think that's awesome and kudos to you. That is not me. I try to go places that I can get to and get back because that is what works for my schedule. And that's what works for my business model for now, while I am still technically part-time.
Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest things about this business is you can build it however you want. And you don't have to compare yourself to everybody else who might be willing to drive 400 miles a day. If you want to keep it more limited, you certainly can. I love where you went with that, though, with how you turned down an appointment. No, I'm sorry, I'm not available, or I'm booked already. And then you follow up with a solution. I think so many people can do that first half, but the second half is where the money's at. I'm not available at 3, but I can be available at 5:30. And it will blow your mind how many of your clients, especially if you have a little bit of a relationship with them and they like working with you, they'll actually call the client and see if they're flexible enough to change that.
You're absolutely right. They will. And that's kind of the second layer. So after you get commissioned, after you get your training, after you sign up and you kind of get your basics down, the second layer that comes into play is your building those relationships. How do you market yourself? How do you stay on top of mind? How do you, like you said, kind of go that next level? And that's the part I think where some notaries may pickle out. That's why some may get weeded out. That's where some may just decide, hey, this isn't working for me. And it's because they don't know, how to get to that next level. And I think that's where additional training, maybe coaching, something to kind of help you kind of either get to the next level or figure out at least what's missing here for me. And that's where I think that's another thing that, because I've had a great deal of success early on, and I've been able to surround myself with people like Nakia, like you, like Laura, like my friend Star. We're kind of like-minded in the sense that, we're building businesses, we're building brands, we're trying to build, leave legacies for, our families. And so I think that is, that would definitely be something that I would strongly encourage someone, like, get the basics down. Absolutely. But make sure that you add, whatever missing pieces that you have so that you can continue to thrive, so that you can continue to sign and thrive, so to speak.
Well played. Well played. No, but you bring up such a great point. And one of the dangers that you run into stepping into an industry during a boom, right? So the last two years, definitely, but even the last 3, 4, 5 years, it's been an amazing run in this business. But one of the dangers of that is that it's easy to think that you just sign up for all these services or a platform and you roll out of bed and suddenly you're making 10 grand a month, because that's how it was, very easily for many people over the last couple of years. And now that life goes back to somewhat normal, or the volume goes back to normal, the real work sets in. And this is about prospecting. This is about connecting. This is about building those authentic relationships, because people are always buying and selling houses. Refinances are probably going to slow down a little bit because interest rates were so ridiculously low, but people always buy and sell. And how do you get those? Through relationships. So how do you do it? What's your system for that?
Yeah. So, a lot of hard work. Let me say that again. A lot of hard work. Networking. So networking within your network, networking outside of your network, getting out of your comfort zone. So I have a full-time job, I have a part-time job, and then I feel like everything that goes along with it is an additional part-time job. So it's social media. Before, I would post a fun picture when going on vacation every blue moon on a Facebook or something. And now, I find myself, I have to post daily for business purposes. That's like a part-time gig. I feel like, I am my own social media manager. So that's like a part-time gig. But what that does is it can introduce you to a different or additional pool of people. So just to give someone a quick example for LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I think, the old way to use it, most of us used to put our resume on there. You just share an article every 6 months and that's kind of it. Well, now, the LinkedIn for my notary business, I have, I would say, just guessing, maybe 30% notary friends, because I like to, encourage them, see what's going on, cheer them on. But the other is a mixture of realtors and title companies and lending companies and banks, so that I can see what's, trending in the mortgage industry. And then there's healthcare and attorneys. And it's basically all of my targeted market. Those are who my connections are on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, I would say LinkedIn has been my most successful as far as building relationships. You do have people contact you in the DMs for business. And I've had, multiple attorneys and realtors reach out to me just from my posts on LinkedIn. And that has been, I probably have received the most amount of business from there. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. TikTok is on my list for this year. I'm not a TikToker yet, but it's on my list. So I'll get to that at some point.
Oh, I love that you took yourself on like that.
Oh yeah, I'll try. I'll try anything once. And so that is a lot of it. And then what has been very powerful as far as building connections as well is, like you said, you originally came to notice, who I even was on Clubhouse. And I was not even I've only been on Clubhouse really a few months. I wasn't one of the initial folks that got on. I have a love and hate going back and forth with iPhone, Android. I'm currently iPhone, but at the time when Clubhouse came out, I was team Android. And so I wasn't on Clubhouse. And so I just got on again during the pandemic. And it has been amazing place to make relationships, build those connections, and also additional business from making those connections. I mean, there's any topic you can think of, there's a room there, and you can go there and meet folks that are in and out of your arena. And you can also tell them exactly what you do. So for me, that has been, most of it. Now, of course, I do the regular marketing, go into the title offices and introduce myself, creating flyers on, Canva. I try my best to share resources with people to kind of keep your costs as low as you possibly can. So I do design a lot of my own flyers on Canva, but I also reach out to artists on, Fiverr and things like that. So I do the old fashioned, door knocking as well. A lot of emails. You have to market yourself. And I think it was you that told me the person. Yeah. I think it was one time you came on the Clubhouse initially and you said, the business, the most successful business is the business that lets everyone know what they do or what service they offer. And so the more people you tell what you do, they're going to contact you. So I wish it was something as easy as, people would just find me. Like, I have to put myself out there and put my business out there so that people know that I am even here to even do what I do or the service that I offer. And then once I'm able to do that, then I can build and cultivate those relationships once you get the relationship. But you got to get the relationship, initially. And that usually takes you, doing some hard work and marketing and putting yourself out there. But it does work. It does work.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with such detail. And I mean, through all the businesses I've been through, this one in particular, I have found that you really are surrounded by people who love and support you and they want you to succeed in this. So when you talk about your business, you get business. It's the weirdest thing, but I'll be talking to somebody in the grocery store. I'll get business. I'll be talking to somebody at the doctor's office. I've got a new contact. Everybody needs a notary at some point, or they know someone who does. Yes. It's kind of the gift of this business.
Yes.
You brought up something interesting that I hear this question a lot too, is as a part-time mobile notary and loan signing agent, can I market to escrow officers directly? It sounds like you are.
Absolutely. I would say absolutely. You can market to not just escrow officers, but you can market to anyone. You can market to attorneys. You can market to realtors, because here's the thing. I think maybe it's just a misnomer that people have about our business. The majority of notaries that I know, they're not full-time. They are part-time. And so if you know that going into it, the other ones that are able to fill sort of that 8 to 5, 9 to 5, that's great. They can have those appointments all day. But how many people are willing to be available in the evening? How many people will take those? Sometimes they're scheduled, sometimes they're last minute. How many people are willing to take those appointments on holidays? How many people are willing to take those appointments when there's a last minute cancellation? So you have to position and market yourself. If you know going into it, I only have a limited amount of time that I'm available, you put yourself out there as, hey, this, I'm so glad you brought that up. So when you do go out and market, a lot of times I call it the brush off or the blow off. Oh yeah, we already have our own notaries, either on staff or we have our own backup notaries. And you say, oh, that is great. I'm giving you guys a little bit of a gem right now. So that's great. That's wonderful. I'm sure you have some of the most top-notch notaries because you're such a success, you have such a successful business. So you just kind of play right into that and say, but if they are not available, if they go on medical leave, if they go on an extended vacation, if they, leave for whatever reason, can I be that backup or the backup to your backup? And you'd be surprised how many people are like, oh, sure, they'll take your information and you may not hear from them that day. And I always follow up, of course, and say thanks for, just letting me make the introduction. But they'll contact you because they're like, wait a minute, she said she wanted to be the backup to the backup, or she said she was available on holidays. She said she was available to do an evening appointment. And so I've had, a lot of people, the public, attorneys, direct, reach out to me. And then, oh goodness, family, friends of friends, the more people I tell, yes. So I don't even know. And I guess they'll find out when they hear this broadcast. I don't even know if people even know that I'm part-time. They probably think, oh, she does it all the time because she promotes it on social media. She's always talking about how great it is. But yeah, I don't, that's not my brand, is to brand myself as the part-time notary, but I am the part-time notary.
I think that's a great insight. And thank you for sharing that. Cause that part-timeness is a obstacle more to the notary than it is to the possible customer. Your customers don't know what your schedule is. And what I used to say is that I would much rather have the chance to say no, because maybe my schedule is free. Maybe I have a PTO day that day. Maybe I'm on vacation. I want people calling me. I want the opportunity to say no, because I know if I can find a way to yes, I'm making it happen. But if I can't, then I can say no. I can turn that down and they can move on to the next notary on the list or whatever it might be. Or maybe I have a referral to one of my notary friends. Well, now I have a signing company, so I can say yes to everything if I want to. But I love your attitude about that. Now, this sparked another question for me. What do you think? Like, if we were to interview your favorite clients, where you are the preferred notary, they obviously love working with you, and we ask them, what makes Lori stand out? What do you think they would say?
Oh, that's a great question as well. I think that they would say that, of course, I'm professional. Of course, I'm punctual. So, and that brings up, we could probably talk about this after this question, but those transferable skills that I talk about all the time with folks who say, I don't have a notary background. I don't have a mortgage background. Do you think I can still do this? And I didn't really, to begin with either, but I did have some transferable skills. And so for me, being able to be flexible, they would say that I am highly motivated. I'm very, very motivated. And then I, have excellent customer service skills, both with the my client and then my client's client. I am that. I try to, kind of give them exactly what I would want to receive. And that's, again, someone who is, professional, genuine, has a great communication style. That's I think what they would say. And then, of course, I am going for the long-term relationship. So I am building, constantly building those relationships and those friendships. And although it's a business relationship, I feel like I'm making new friends in this industry as well. So hopefully those are the type of things that they would say. I do, surveys and feedback. So those are some of the insight into some of the things that they've said.
I love that, because what you're talking about is those softer skills, which is in the 4 pillars, the likability factor, right? Like, I think you touched on a couple of things here, but when a new notary comes into this industry, they get so focused on the paper. This is just, but it's way more than knowing how to sign, date, stamp a piece of paper. That's important, right? This work matters. And you can be the best paper stamper in the world. You can know the laws inside and out. But if you're a jerk, or if you got RBF that just looks like you're pissed off all the time, it's not going to go well in this industry. It's those other skills. And I love that you say transferable skills, because and I know you help a lot of new notaries out, but how many of them come to you and say, I got nothing? I mean, they were CFOs sometimes in their previous career. Then they retire and they come into the notary business and they're like, I can't do anything. I don't know anything. I'm like, you've got skills. Whether you could have been a fast food restaurant,
yes,
could be a CEO, you could do law enforcement, military, all of those skills transferred to this career. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do try to help and mentor the newer notaries, because a lot of times it's just kind of getting over those initial jitters. And then once they get out there, usually they're fine. For some of our local notaries, I try to be on standby for their first couple of signings or general notary or specialty notary work jobs, because I remember having those butterflies in my stomach on the first one. And so just trying to, and really all I'm doing is just reassuring them, pulling out some of the skills, like you said, the soft skills that they already have, and say, you can read off the paperwork. No problem. I'm quite sure that you can do that. But in addition to that, let's pull out some of and then we just kind of go through their list. Like you said, maybe they were customer service for 10 years, helping customers. Okay, well, let's get that. Everyone can show up on time. That's one at the top of the list. Everyone can show up 5 minutes early. That's a skill that can impress a client. And so I just try to encourage them. I try to emphasize more the positive than I do the negative. And that usually kind of helps them get over the kind of that nervousness hurdle. And then, I always tell them, hey, let me know how the first one goes. And it always comes back like, it was better than I thought it would go, or better than I thought it would be. And that always makes me feel good. Transferable skills are where it's at. I don't care what you were. I come across people all the time, and if they provide great customer service, it could be like a waiter or waitress, and they're just like on it. I give them my card and say, hey, have you ever heard about Notary Public or loan signing? I think you might be. And they're like, well, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, but your customer service is on point. And so I do that as well, just because it's been such an awesome journey for me so far. It's been very lucrative. And just, the friendships that I've made, like I want to expose this to everyone that I come in contact with that I think might be a good fit.
I love that you do that. I thought I was the only one. I love it when I have great customer service. I'm like, oh, you need to come into this business. We need you.
Yes.
Come on in. I love that. I love that. Well, thank you. This has been such a great conversation. And as we wind down, though, there's more to this business than even just what we've talked about, right? And this is where the nailing it and scaling it part comes in. I believe this industry is ripe for innovation and those with the courage and the initiative to step into it. And you've been able to do that. You're nailing it with the actual loan signing, building your business that way, but then you have scaled it a little bit with your event and then some of the other things you have going on. So can you tell us about that?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for this opportunity. So just, we talked just a little bit before we went on. And, I just, in full transparency, I initially got into this business. I thought if I make enough money to cover my vacation to wherever, like, that would be great. And I'd be happy with that. And when I made my first $5,000, I was like, oh, okay. Like, this will work. And then when I made my first $10,000, I couldn't believe that I had not heard about this before. Like, where have I been? And so that, the business part of the business, yes, that part has been great. But then the other kind of offspring from this as well. So, this year, I was so proud and happy to have you as a part of it. I had my very first Level Up Notary Signing Agent Virtual Summit. And it was, really just kind of came out of, where a lot of us are still working from home. A lot of us are still inside. And I had just wanted to see how much I could leverage social media to get the word out. And we opened up the registration, and we had registered over 500 notaries or aspiring notaries within 12 hours. And so that let me know that, hey, there is a need, a hunger, a desire for people to learn and to increase their knowledge. We ended up having about 950 registered attendees for that event. And it was in January of this year. And it was phenomenal. And I'm not saying that because it was my own event, but I'm saying it based on the feedback that we received. We had speakers like you and Laura Bewer, and I don't want to start getting into all the different names because I'll end up forgetting someone. My friend Nakia, my friend Star, they were a part of it, but it was so motivating for so many. That was the feedback that I think it put a little fire under some people that maybe have been in the business but had not thought about some additional, options for themselves. And then it also inspired aspiring notaries. And that's so exciting for me. I've also been able to start a Notary Book Club. And so we are reading books about, notary, the business. And then we're also reading books about just entrepreneurship in general. So hosting those every other month. And that's been exciting so far. Can't wait to get Sign and Thrive on our readers list very, very soon. And so it's just been a blessing. And then that's not even touching just the friendships that I've been able to make. I've been able to, meet you and become friends with you, and you've mentored me, and I've been so appreciative. But just it's opened up just a whole new world of friendships and connections that I wouldn't have had before. And so it's just been, I just don't have any negative things to say about the notary world or about loan signing. It's just been been amazing. It's been amazing so far, and I cannot wait to see what else 2022 has in store for me.
Well, what a great lead into my next question. First, I totally agree with you. I think this business is a gift, and it has absolutely changed my life, and I love sharing it. But what does the future have in store? What's next for Lori Morgan?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm going to go to that gratitude journal and pull it out, and that's going to remind me of what's happened so far. And then with the vision board for this year, if I showed it to you, Bill, I don't even know if you'd believe it, because half of the things on there I don't even believe. But I know that I have a limitless possibility. It's limitless with the possibilities. And so I have a lot of exciting things coming up. I have a follow-up to the summit. So we're going to do a mid-year check-in, which should be awesome. That will be on a little bit smaller scale because I want to give us some time to do some breakouts. I want to hear about the successes that some of the attendees have had and some of the things that they have on their vision board. So I will definitely be sharing more information about that later. We have, like I said, the book club is ongoing. And I have a couple of pretty big projects that I have working on. I'm working on a book right now that will be out sometime in the next few months. And I'll be sharing more information about that as well. And then, of course, just trying to, increase my business. I don't know if a signing service is in my sight at this point, but it's always on the table. But just continuing to grow and expand and, continue to be successful, but also to continue to be very grateful and, showing that gratitude because I've been incredibly blessed throughout my life, but especially these last few years.
That sounds incredible. I can't wait to see what 2022 and beyond creates, or what you create in 2022 and beyond. Be sure to let me know how to support you. I love it when people write books. I think it was probably one of the most rewarding things internally I have ever done for myself. So I can't wait to support you in that too. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But Lori, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you or get in your orbit, how can they do that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I am on social media. So that's probably the easiest and best way to contact me. I am on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn under Sign Here and There Notary and or under my name, Lori Morgan. And that's probably the best way. I'm always in Clubhouse. So we're there on a weekly basis, providing as much value as we possibly can there. And definitely be out. Definitely look out for the next Level Up Notary Agent Summit. I'm going to provide as much value as we can there as well. And like you mentioned before, I am just passing on to other notaries what's been passed on to me. And I just want to mention just real briefly, Bill, when you and I finally met in person, you didn't know me. I didn't know you very well. We had met on the Clubhouse app briefly, and we spent a few moments along with some of our other notary friends, and we had I call it a fireside chat. There was no fire. We were just chatting. And you were so it was such an invaluable conversation that it really got my wheels turning about like the notary business and entrepreneurship in a way that I hadn't looked at it before. And so I've told you privately before, I'm telling you publicly now, just thank you for pouring into me. I feel like you are definitely part of a part of my success. And I just appreciate all of your support that you've provided throughout my notary journey. And then I'm thankful that I've been able to share or pour into other notaries as well. And so it's just a wonderful cycle. And so I just wanted to publicly thank you for everything that you do as well.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. Unexpected. And it's truly my honor, my pleasure to be a part of that. And I can receive no greater compliment than you got my wheels turning. I love that. Thank you so much for joining us here, Lori. I can't wait to see what 2022 brings.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity. And our slogan, this is the notary community. Our slogan is 2022, we are coming for you.
I love it. Let's get it. For terms and conditions, as well as more information on whether the Notary eJournal is compliant in your state, visit the home of the Notary eJournal at www.juratinc.com. If you're a notary public, the future's here. Long have we been confined to pen and paper when it comes to our journal entries, and those days are over. The Notary eJournal by Jurat Inc. is a smartphone app that completely digitizes the journaling experience. You can quickly populate fields with an ID scan, you can make detailed notes about your appointment experience, and you can capture signatures electronically right on the screen of your phone. The Notary eJournal has also blazed a trail with the industry's first integration of a Bluetooth scanner, so the modern notary can actually capture a signer's thumbprint, making the Notary eJournal compliant in nearly every state, including California. Even if your state doesn't require a journal, it's considered a wise and best practice to do so. A journal can be a notary's BFF, as my friend Laura Buer says, and you might as well be on the cutting edge of technology while you're using it. The Notary eJournal, it's simple, secure, and pretty damn cool to use. Your customers will love it, and you'll love the time you save at every single appointment. And time is money. Check out the demo and the incredible special offer just for supporters of the Side Hustle Lounge and Notary Coach at www.sidehustlelounge.com.